I mean, we have a lot of crazy people doing stuff now, and nonsense transmits through the population at the speed of light. And, you know, I don't know. This can be a very powerful, world-conquering technology.
So Joe Rogan just got Bob Lazar to admit something shocking, that he might have made a massive mistake exposing alien technology. For 40 years, every administration has kept this secret. We're about to hear why Lazar now thinks they were right to hide it.
And these aren't idiots. These aren't idiots for 40 years. You have a line of people that all have agreed, no, let's not say anything. No, let's not say anything. No, let's not say anything. There has to be a reason why. And if they all agreed to that, maybe I'm the asshole. No, really. Maybe they're right. And
maybe you would have figured that out if you kept working for them.
yeah, I don't know. But I'm increasingly thinking I'm the one that made the mistake. Maybe this is supposed to be just kept quiet.
Think about this. We've had Trump, Biden, Obama, Bush administrations with completely opposite politics, yet this technology stays classified across all parties. That level of bipartisan secrecy in today's divided America tells you everything about how dangerous this really is.
Maybe, I mean, what if it's, I'm not saying this is what it is, but I mean, what if it's like, you know, like we raise cows out in a field and just feed them grass and they're just going to be food. What if it's something like that? What if we're just like, you know, a population of creatures that are just to be consumed in some way?
I don't know if we're to be consumed, but I do think we are.
Not physically consumed,
Right.
like eaten, but I mean,
I think
The technology gap he described earlier, gravity manipulation, instantaneous acceleration, represents the same intelligence difference between us and ants. If we're just cattle to them, our entire concept of human supremacy becomes meaningless overnight.
you know, this explains the UFO nuts, you know?
it's ours.
Yeah, this is ours. This is a new top secret fighter. We came up with a new propulsion system, and you know, it explains everything because I never believed in flying saucers. I thought people were nuts. But when they started reviewing everything with me, they were trying. I was trying to replace somebody, or they were trying to use me to replace somebody as quick as possible, and they had two directives. Directive one was to duplicate the technology with available material at any cost, which is exact verbatim what it was. And directive two was to be able to disable this technology at a distance at any cost. And, you know, once you start thinking about that, wait, don't you guys know how the thing you built worked? And it's kind of like they left that out. That this, by the way, this isn't ours. And Barry is the guy that filled me in going, no, this is an alien craft. And we need to figure out how this works. Look at the technology here. I mean, this is decades, light years ahead of where we are. And it was a shock, really, to me.
Those two directives reveal this was never about science. It was pure military strategy. Duplicate at any cost means weaponize it. Disable at distance means develop countermeasures. They were preparing for potential conflict with superior technology.
I'm not sure we should be trusted with this stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
really.
Well,
Really?
you think about what we're doing in Iran right now, you would say no.
Yeah,
Right.
I would say no.
We're
for
still
sure.
flying over patches of dirt and bombing the fucking shit out
No,
of it.
imagine if we had something a million times that power.
Right.
Really, humans should not be trusted with that.
Right, we got to trust it to AI. That's why we're making it, Bob.
This is getting scary. Yeah.
It is getting scary.
It is
But
scary.
it's not science fiction
No,
anymore.
I mean, no,
This-
it's not. I mean, we're making fun of it now, but
Right.
no, this is dangerous stuff, and I'm sorry for the people who think this is all a joke. It's not. This is real.
Yeah.
And I'm really not sure we should be trusted with this.
Look at human history. We turned atomic energy into weapons within years. We've weaponized every major technological breakthrough. With Iran actively pursuing nuclear weapons and current global tensions, Imagine that same pattern with gravity manipulating technology.
Reactor.
The
yeah.
reactor that's covering this thing that's generating this power. What was the introduction to it? How did they explain it to
The
you?
introduction was way before me. And that's where the guy prior to me either got hurt or killed. So they determined that this was the power source. And at some point, they decided to take that out to the nuclear test site because they wanted to cut into it. They x-rayed it. They only found a small tube that went around it. They really couldn't determine how it worked or what was going on. So at some point, and Barry made this somewhat clear that they cut into the reactor while it was running, or while it was under load, I should say, and the reactor exploded. That's what killed or hurt the person that I replaced. But it produced the base gravitational wave or base energy that propelled the craft, that provided the craft the propulsion. I mean, when they removed it, the craft didn't work.
They were so desperate to understand this technology that they cut into a running alien reactor, killing someone in the process. That's not scientific curiosity. That's the kind of reckless urgency you see when national survival is at stake.
We've never, even with antimatter, we've analyzed it, and it still has an attractive force to it. There's no repulsive force that we've discovered, because that would be a great propulsion system. But this repulsed. So this was a new field completely.
But how was he turning it on?
He had the emitter, which is a big pipe.
What is an emitter? Like, what is...
The craft itself has, on the main level, has the reactor and what we call the amplifiers. The reactor and 3 amplifiers. Right underneath that, there are 3 emitters that are right under the amplifiers. And we believe the energy from the reactor is amplified by the emitters and...
By the amplifiers.
And transmitted to the emitters. And they produce this field that lifts the craft off the ground. And that's how it works. But there is nothing even in our physics or our science that correlates to that at all.
And what is the energy that's going to them that causes it to turn on?
We don't know. I mean, we just assume it's gravity because it's the only thing we know like that. But it has a negative gravity effect. So it might be a new force entirely.
Anti-gravity fundamentally breaks physics as we know it. This isn't just better transportation, it's unlimited energy, space travel, and military dominance rolled into one. Whoever controls this technology controls the planet, period.
There are other groups working on that. So they compartmentalize stuff so much. There was no exchange of information between any groups. I mean, you could submit a written response that your supervisor, in my case, Dennis, would have to carry over, and they would have to approve. And, you'd get a 2 or 3 line response from, the other group. But that's not how science works. Science works on the free exchange of information. And they were just killing themselves with security. And it was really frustrating. It was terribly frustrating.
The Manhattan Project used identical compartmentalization, scientists working on pieces without knowing the full picture. When you see that level of security applied here, it confirms this technology is considered as world-changing as nuclear weapons.
So, yeah, number one is what's the deal with the ocean? That's probably the number one question.
Because there's a ton of sightings where people see things come out of the water and go into the water.
Yeah, there has to be a reason for that.
Well, it just, in terms of if they have the ability to travel through space, if whatever that thing is really does create some sort of a gravity bubble or some sort of a space-time bubble.
Yeah, but maybe it's not space. Maybe it's not space. Maybe it's time. Maybe it's another dimension. There's really no limits.
If these craft are interdimensional or time traveling rather than extraterrestrial, that's actually more terrifying. It means the technology exists within our reality's physics, and therefore might be achievable by human science eventually.
Never. We never come over and go, oh, we just want to teach you guys everything that we know.
Right.
No.
Nope.
It's like, we're going to rape all your women, take all your stuff, and then just kill you.
Use your resources.
Yeah, right. And just consume everything you want. That's just always the way it goes. Now, maybe that's just what humans do, but I would be concerned that's what all life does.
Every first contact in human history, Europeans meeting indigenous peoples, industrial societies encountering tribal ones, ended in subjugation or extinction. The technological gap with these craft makers dwarfs any historical precedent we have.
This is incredibly dangerous stuff.
Yeah.
And again, it's world-dominating technology. And I don't know what to do with it other than to keep it from people.
With Iran's nuclear program and current global conflicts, this technology represents ultimate military supremacy. One nation with working anti-gravity craft could dominate the entire planet within months. The secrecy suddenly makes perfect strategic sense.
Look, I've always leaned into what Barry told me, because it's the only information I had, that the craft came from Zeta Reticuli, which is a star system 30 some odd light years away. And, again, it was just like a Star Trek thing. Mm-hmm. They came over here for whatever reason. But that information may not be true.
Right, that information might be one of those things they put in. That's nonsense.
Yeah. Again, if it has to do with time, I think from what George has told me, Jacques Vallée and some other really credible researchers have said that these are people either from another dimension or another time, or maybe they're us from the future.
Jacques Vallée, a respected computer scientist and astronomer, has argued for decades that the interdimensional hypothesis fits the evidence better than extraterrestrial visitors. If these are future humans, they might be trying to prevent our timeline's catastrophic end.
Look at the way things are going right now.
Right.
Holy cow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Things are totally off the rails.
Mm-hmm. But maybe that's part of the plan. Maybe part of it is like it has to get so far sideways that we realize how fucked up everything is that we start making meaningful changes and implement AI as government.
Given current global tensions and nuclear threats, time travelers from our future would have obvious reasons to intervene. Our timeline might be heading toward exactly the kind of civilizational collapse they're trying to prevent.
Now, AI is absolutely the death of us. There's no question.
Well, we're certainly going to become obsolete in terms of our thinking. But
if we're obsolete in terms of our thinking, we're obsolete.
Yeah.
I mean, all AI needs is hands, right?
I think we integrate. That's what I think happens.
Yeah. It's a scary
and that's I was going to say, and that's a scary thought. That's a scary thought because it's like we're going to integrate. I think it's inevitable. I think you're right about that. We're just going there. Yeah. It's not like even if you and I are not going to actually do it, somebody will, and it's going to integrate because other people will, and it's going to happen. But it's still the same primate. We're still the same human.
Sort of, but we already have problems with joints, and so we replace them with fake ones. We take titanium knees, and
If AI achieves consciousness and gains access to anti-gravity technology, biological life becomes obsolete. The combination represents an evolutionary dead end for humanity, which might explain why these craft occupants appear to be non-biological entities.
I try to only talk about what I've seen and touched and verified. I've heard plenty of other stuff that I don't know if is true or not, and there's no sense in repeating that because nonsense moves at the speed of light these days.
Right? Yeah, it does.
And that's just. It's terrible.
You live in a weird existence, Bob. You really do, because you've been holding on to this, and you have this experience from 40 years ago that's just become a part of folklore. It's become part of the zeitgeist. Like, this is why your podcast that we did is the most watched podcast I've ever done. This resonates with people in a way that, look, I've done a lot of UFO ones. I had Travis Walton on. I've had a lot of people that have stories. They're all very interesting. They don't get nearly the amount of traction that yours does. And I think it's because you're uniquely credible. You're uniquely credible in the fact that you are very skeptical. You're not interested in like these fantastic ideas. You're very dismissive of nonsense. But yet you have this burden. Like you actually physically touched these fucking things and went and
His scientific restraint actually proves his credibility. Real scientists stick to observable data, not speculation. The government's decades-long campaign to discredit him backfired. It just highlighted how seriously they take his revelations.
I don't know if that stuff is true. So you got to draw the line there.
Yes.
But, you know, I know what I did see, I know for a fact, and there is no way you can tell me that that's not real.
Whether these craft are alien, interdimensional, or from our future, the technology is undeniably real. The 40-year bipartisan cover-up, the compartmentalization, the casualties, it all points to world-changing capabilities that humanity might not be ready for.